What is up, you guys? Welcome to Illumination Lab. My name is Justin, and today we're going to make this holiday scene in Cinema4d and Redshift. In this video, we'll run through importing assets, setting up the scene, lighting, and some settings to really help bring the scene to life. I'm excited for this one. This is going to be a fun one today, so without further delay, let's get into it. Alright, so jumping right into Cinema4d, we are in the new Grayscale studio today, and we're just going to type in living room here. And so we have a bunch of new living room assets, so we'll definitely use some of these to help kind of build up our holiday scene here. So for the composition, I'm thinking today is I want something that is rather close up. So I think maybe something like a chair of some sort, and maybe some sort of blanket or so, and then some sort of curtains in the backdrop. I think that would be fun to kind of start with, and then we can kind of complete the scene by using some sort of aerial light to kind of carry our pictures, and then we could bring in some sort of evergreen like tree and kind of decorate that and put some lights up as well too. So something rather simple but kind of fun to kind of play around with. So let me just import all of these assets real quick and we'll jump right in. Alright, so jumping right into Cinema4d here, I'm just going to kind of zoom out. And what we have here is a dome light and some of the assets here that we brought in. So I'm just going to maybe grab one of these and help kind of separate this out. And really, I'm just trying to kind of have this chair right in front of our curtains. But what we should definitely do first is just go into our settings here and set up our perspective. And really with this, what I'm looking for is something that is a little bit longer, something that is a little bit more vertical. So I'm just going to select this one here. That kind of gives us a nice narrow perspective here. I'm just going to bring in a Redshift camera, and we're just going to increase that focal length to about 200 for this one. And then just kind of zoom back out, and we're just going to kind of establish our initial shot here. I think maybe right there will be good until we bring in some sort of tree. So let me just jump out of that and just lock in the Redshift camera there. Okay, so I brought in this pillow, and so we're just going to kind of dress up the scene rather simply here. So I'm just going to kind of set this on top of the chair. And then we're just going to kind of bring this back and just turn this. And then I'm just going to kind of make sure that this is actually sitting on top of this chair. And then just pull this back. And so I'm both trying to make sure that it is sitting on the chair appropriately, and it kind of has a nice look on this chair within our composition there. So I think that definitely checks out. Next up, we have this cool knitted blanket asset. This is actually pretty cool because it actually has some curves to it. So I'm just going to maybe put this on the end here. I know that would be kind of funky outside of the scene, how it's set up, but if we could kind of have this somewhere on the edge here, kind of draping off, that would be kind of a cool little effect here. So let me just kind of play with this, bring this down. And then I'm just going to rotate this. And I'm just, again, just trying to kind of place it where it makes sense and it looks actually, where it actually looks pretty good here. So let me just shrink this down. It might be a little too big here. Yeah, that's a little bit better. So we'll just have it on there draping off like that. And based off of our perspective, it really doesn't matter too much that it's kind of flying forward too much. So yeah, that is looking good. We'll make some small adjustments here. Cool. So I think that will be good, especially initially, and then if need be, we can always kind of play around with it. So next up, I'm going to establish a floor. So I'm going to bring in this plane just about there, so we can kind of cover that entire scene. And then next up, I'm going to bring in a cube, and with this cube, I'm just going to kind of move it to this back area here, and we're just going to establish some sort of wall. And so what I'm thinking for this is we have this nice little window outside here, and then we'll bring in some sort of really nice picture here to kind of give us a nice outside snowy look here. So I think that will be pretty cool, especially if we play around with a lot of warm tones within the quote-unquote house, and then we have outside that's rather cool and it has a lot of snow. So I think that would look pretty nice there. So rather quickly, I'm using a lot of these cubes to kind of establish just kind of a general idea of a window here. And so we'll just kind of leave that there. What I'll do is actually bring in that area lights. We're going to rotate this here to about 180. And then I'll just kind of move this into where the window is supposed to be, right about here. And then I'll just go in, drop down the intensity to 2, make this visible, and then we're bringing in our picture here. And so immediately within the render view, you can kind of see that. I found this cool outside area here with a whole bunch of trees and snow, and so I think this will definitely get the job done here. So right now I'm just kind of moving it around just to make sure that it looks somewhat proportional and the image itself looks rather realistic here. So, and of course, depending on how you want it to look, we can always kind of move around the area lights, again, depending on what overall look we want from it. And I think this frame here from the window is kind of blocking this out, so I'm just going to delete that one. And then I'm just going to kind of bring this to about there, just so we could kind of see the trees and the mountains off in the distance, so it's not really breaking up that nice picture there. So, but yeah, looking pretty good so far. We will do a quick save here. All right, so we're just going to hop into our perspective, and we will turn off the area lights and turn off this dome light here, just so we could kind of see the scene a little bit better. And then I'm just going to kind of adjust our perspective here. And what I'm trying to do is try to make sure that this chair is mainly the focal point here, but we're going to bring in some sort of tree here eventually, think off to the left. So I want to make sure that we do have some space here, but we're rather zoomed in still. So let's do that. Let's hop into Redshift. Let's bring in a tree. Of course, whenever bringing in these assets, I always give it a quick save here. And then I'm just going to bring in this one and then bring this up and off to the left here. So I think about there is good. Again, the chair is mainly going to be the focal point, and we're going to have this tree somewhat in the background here, but enough where we can kind of see it, and it kind of adds a little bit more depth kind of having it behind the chair here. So, and then I'm just going to kind of adjust our picture here, and I think right around there is going to be good as far as basically setting up where the ground level is. So I kind of like it where we can kind of see trees off in the distance, again kind of establishing a little bit more depth within the scene. And so just these small little things that you could do within the scene really helps make it look a little bit more realistic, especially just trying to do those small things to kind of add in some depth. So looking good so far. We'll hop back into the Redshift library here. They do have a few of these different ornaments here, so we could just maybe pull in one of these. Again, nothing too crazy, just because we don't have a ton of surface when it comes to the tree, but something kind of here and there would work nice, just so we could kind of see that it is a little bit more of like a holiday or just Christmas theme here. So, and then I'm just going to kind of move that to maybe about here, just so we can kind of see it, and it looks like it's actually kind of hanging off the tree there. So that is looking good. I'm just going to go back into Grayscale Gorilla, and what I'm going to do is look for some sort of HDRI. Our scene is rather flat overall as far as the lighting goes, and so I want to kind of bring in something, again, like I said, I want something that's rather warm to kind of offset the outside. So maybe something like this one here. So immediately there we have a lot more warmness. It looks a lot more natural, very hearthy almost, but it seems a lot more the natural lights versus that white light that we had there. So that is looking pretty good. Of course, like always, once we bring in our materials, the lighting's going to somewhat change here, but let's actually do that now. Let's bring in some sort of carpet texture here. And actually what we could do is we could do this, bring in this carpet and kind of lay it on top of our plane here. But of course we will kind of look at a few of these different carpet textures. I think something like this would work nice. The gold here is a rather warm tone, so that would work nice with this. And then having some sort of a lighter wood here, like something like this one here, that would work nice, and it would kind of actually complement that gold pattern we brought in. So let's check out how that looks real quick, just to kind of see what that is looking like. With this carpet, I'm just trying to make sure that we have some carpet underneath this chair, but I also want some space so we can kind of show that hardwood as well. So I'm just going to kind of move that carpet off to the side here. And so we're just going to apply that gold carpet here. And then what I'm going to do is just grab a Redshift tag and bring that in here. And then we're just going to turn on our geometry and our displacement here, just so we can kind of get more of a realistic looking carpet here. Next up, I'm going back into Grayscale. And yeah, I think we're going to kind of bring in this wood here. And then we could also look at some cloth as well. Maybe something like this. I'm thinking some sort of red cloth for maybe the curtain in the back here, just because we have a lot of warm colors that we're bringing in here, and definitely red is one of them, so I think that would look nice. On top of that too, you know, red and a lot of greens here is definitely gonna help bring in more of that Christmas and holiday sort of look here. So I want to make sure that those reds are present. We could even make the chair red, but I don't know if I want to do it red or some sort of whites to kind of help to actually stand out from the curtain here. So we'll definitely play around with it, see what we can find, but let's check this out here. And then we're just going to apply our wood texture here. And then we're just going to apply that red to the chair here just to see what that looks like. And maybe like a white on this curtain. No, I don't like that, especially with this texture on this curtain. I just don't like how that looks here. So we're just going to kind of take all of this off. So let's do a red for the curtain. just delete that there. And then we'll go back into grayscale here. And let's look for some sort of leather here. Let's actually just type in white and see what kind of materials pop up here. I think this one might be nice, so let's just import this one. So I'm just going to apply that suede onto the chair here. And then I'm just going to attach the plaster to the wall. And so I'm just looking here. I think I like that quite a bit here. What I do need to do is just go in to this plaster and just decrease the UV length. And the reason why we're doing this is we're trying to make this a little smaller, so it's a little bit more to scale to what we have as far as our perspective goes. And what I'm going to do is just reduce it down to about 75 each. And the reason why I'm doing that is I'm just trying to kind of decrease it in size to kind of help as far as like the scale goes within the scene. I'm just trying to make sure that it looks proportional to what we have going on here. So I'm liking this quite a bit, especially with the suede. It kind of gives us this off-white sort of look on the chair, so that is kind of nice there. And then what we'll do is we'll put this material on this blanket here. And then what we'll do is we'll actually go in here, type in texture, bring in this texture node, and then I found this here, which is more of a Christmas holiday look here. So I'm just going to detach this base color, and then we're just going to attach this pattern I found here, and it kind of gives us that nice red and white, almost like this candy cane look here. Of course, not exactly, because it's more of a knitted material, so it kind of gives us that kind of a rough, like naturally knitted look here. So that is a pretty nice look. We can always go in and fix the length here, and that'll just kind of adjust the scale. And then what I'm going to do is just copy and paste that same material. I'm just going to detach the texture and just going to import another texture, and this is going to be for our pillow here. So right off the bat, that is surprisingly looking pretty good. I just found this randomly, so I'm actually pretty shocked that this looks pretty good right as we start out here. But anyways, what we'll do is we'll go into Redshift and we will bring in some of these lights here. Now what we could do is we could wrap these lights around the tree here, but since we have just a little bit of this tree, what I'm going to do is just take one of these lights, and we're just going to kind of use one of these lights and just kind of populate it throughout the tree here. And so I'm just going to grab one of these, and then I'm just going to go into this color here. I'm just going to kind of bring this down more to a lighter color here. Think again, kind of playing around with more of the white tones could be nice here. So what I'm going to do is just rotate our light, and then I'm just going to zoom in here. And then what I'm going to do is just bring in a area light, and we're just going to make this light a sphere. And so immediately you can kind of see that within the render view here. And then I'm just going to take that light, of course, bring this down to about 2. And then I'm just going to shrink this down to 5 by 5 by 5. And then I'm just going to kind of bring this over. And we're just essentially going to kind of wrap it around this bulb here. So let me kind of zoom back into our lights. And again, I'm just getting it lined up to the actual bulb here. And then I'll shrink this down. And then I'm just going to increase the exposure. And then just zoom out. And then I'm just going to take the area light and bring it into that null here. And then I'm just going to select the whole thing. And then what we can kind of do is just bring it into our tree and just kind of find some sort of spots that we like that kind of works within our perspective to kind of help decorate the tree a little bit here. So I think maybe about here would be nice. I'm just going to copy and paste that. Kind of move this over to about there. Just have something that's kind of offsetting each other. And then what I'm going to do is just select those and kind of rotate them so they're kind of facing down to kind of make it a little bit more realistic, like it's kind of hanging off of a wire on the tree here. So and we can make this rather simple. We can kind of grab all of these and just kind of copy and paste and kind of move these around the tree. And then what I'm going to do is just kind of box out this area so I can kind of see this a little bit better. And also what we could kind of do to make it a little bit more, almost kind of like a more dreamy look, we could go in and just kind of turn on bloom. It has kind of a little bit more of a glow to it, so that is quite nice there. And what I'll do is just go into these lights and just decrease the exposure here. And then again, just copy and paste for the top half of the tree here. And then we could do a couple more here, just copy and paste some of these individual ones. Maybe like here. And then what we could do is just go back into our Redshift library here and maybe bring in another ornament. I don't want to make this too busy, but just kind of something here and there would be fine. All right, so next up, what I'm going to do is just go and take this cube here. And I'm just going to copy and paste, and I'm just going to take the material off. And what I'm going to do is just kind of make a window seal out of this, just to kind of make this look a little bit more realistic here. And then I'm just going to bring up Grayscale Gorilla again. And then we're just going to look for some sort of like a painted wood would be nice here. So I'm just going to bring that in. And then we're just going to kind of attach that to that window portion here, just to kind of give that some sort of color there. And then I'll just kind of bring this down. And then next up, I'll just copy and paste this cube. I'm just going to kind of increase the size. And just kind of bring this down here. And with this, what we're going to do is just establish some sort of window here. So something rather thin, but something, of course, present here. And then same thing, we'll just copy and paste and bring this one up. And I'm just going to make a null and bring these cubes into the null. We're just going to hop into Redshift, and we do have some different glass materials here. So I think maybe something like this one would be good. And we'll just apply that glass to that null here. And of course, I'm just going to kick up these segments to about 20 each here. Cool, so that is looking fine there. We can even just kind of box this out, just kind of make sure that that is looking good. And yeah, I think that is looking just fine there. So next up, what we're going to do is just hop into our settings here. We're kind of near our wrap up portion here, but we have a few different things kind of left. Let's actually go into our LUTs here, and I will turn this on. And we do have a few different LUTs we can kind of play around with depending on what look we want. We could have something kind of dark and dramatic, or we can kind of have something that's a little bit more of a color pop here. So it all kind of depends on what we want this to look like. So we'll just kind of roll through some of these LUTs here just to kind of see what kind of options we have. I like how there's so many different LUTs here that we can kind of choose from. Kind of helps us out as far as like the creative direction we want to go into. And then something even like this warm honey one, we could do something like this, but it doesn't have to be at full strength. So if you kind of like the concept, we can always kind of bring this down and adjust it to kind of fit how you want it to look. So that is always nice there. We'll just kind of roll through a few more of these. I think I like this one here. I think it is rather simple. It kind of helps kind of bring in a little bit more of our shadows here. So I kind of like that quite a bit. And then of course we can kind of go into our bloom and just kind of play around with that. So we could kind of increase that bloom to really help brighten up the outside, kind of give us again more of a dreamy type look here. So a lot of really cool things we can do with it. But other than that, that was pretty much it for this one. That's something that was rather simple but kind of fun to make, something that kind of gave us more of a realistic look. Of course, like I said, we could kind of go in a few different directions here, but I think this here is something nice that we could kind of start out with, and then depending on if we have any sort of creative direction, we could kind of go forward with that. But it's pretty cool. I just wanted to show you what Grayscale had to offer as far as their assets, and you could kind of build up some sort of scene or living room rather quick with a lot of this, and it seems to be a little bit more realistic here too, so which is pretty nice. So but anyways, let's hop into the wrap-up section and just kind of finish this off. All right, so jumping into our wrap-up section, this is the initial render we got here. So what's pretty nice is we actually did a pretty good job with our both our perspective and kind of making everything seem somewhat proportional here. I think we do have a few different opportunities to kind of fix If you can kind of see the window, I think the trees are kind of smushed together a little bit. So in our second render here, what we can kind of do is just stretch that out to kind of make it a little bit more proportional and correct. What I do like about this is we're able to kind of bring in some really good natural lights, but we kind of played around with that bloom effect to kind of add in some sort of dreamy aspect. And then as far as looking at it as a whole, I think we definitely achieved more of the holiday type look, especially with bringing in a lot of those different colors and even the pattern on this pillow here. And then I do like how we brought in that carpet. I think it is kind of unfortunate we can't see the hardwood, because I think that would be a nice look there. But I think for this initial render, I kind of pushed for more of a darker tones or more of a dramatic look here. So, but anyways, that was pretty much it for this one. Let me know what you guys think. You guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one.